We've spent an awful lot of time focusing on what happens to children when they're diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, but here is Rupert's story.
Rupert was just the most incredible person. He was born with a smile on his face, and he continued to smile for the whole of his life. And I know it sounds cliched, but he really did light up the room when he entered. You know, he had this big, beaming smile, and he was just always great fun and very popular, had lots of friends.
Rupert was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and he only got halfway up when he came down with severe pulmonary embolism or altitude sickness. He was still out of breath once he came down. Running for a bus left him breathless, and it was immediately clear that something pretty severe was wrong.
Got back to the UK, lots of doctor's appointments and hospital checks, and nobody could find out what was wrong with him, and that went on for several months until he came home for the Christmas holiday, and you know, he just collapsed climbing up the stairs, and you know, we knew something was wrong because he'd been so physically active, a rower, playing rugby, and for him to keep fainting like that was wrong. But we were fortunate that he was at university in Newcastle, where there is a pulmonary hypertension centre, so he was diagnosed there. And I was told when I was called up to see his consultant that what he had, and that his life expectancy without treatment was 2 years, which is an awful thing for a mother to be told.
Rupert lived an extraordinarily normal life, and he did things that many of his contemporaries were doing. He really loved cooking and spending time having drinks with his friends. He went to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. He lifted weights that I can't lift. And to the outside world, it seemed like nothing was wrong. But he was basically great at compartmentalizing his condition. As soon as he walked out of a hospital or his flat, he just left his condition behind. So Rupert had to go about his daily life with a pump attached to his waist, and it was something that required constant maintenance. There was a tube that literally went through his chest into his heart. The slightest problems could cause him major issues, and there could be a leak with the pump, there could be a bubble in the tube. Any of these things would have major repercussions to him and how he felt.
Well, he was a very active sportsman. He had to give up all of those sports. One of the things he said when he was dying was, "I want to swim." And we thought that was rather an incongruous thing to say at such a time. And he said, "Yes, I haven't swum in so long and I miss it so much."
Got up at 6:30, but when I did, I saw that there were lots of missed calls from my dad and messages asking me to come to the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital as soon as possible. And I just knew as soon as I got those messages, without anyone having to say anything, that something was seriously wrong, that you know, there was a good chance that Rupert was going to die. Rupert was incredibly gracious. When I arrived, the first thing he said was he thanked me for coming. And at that point, he was he had lost a lot of his strength. He said to me it felt like he'd been running a marathon, and he thanked my parents for giving him a good life. He offered words of advice to some of his friends. And it was an incredible, it's a privilege really to be with him at the end.
As his mother, I'm just very, very sad. It leaves a huge hole that will never go away, although we have very happy memories of him. Really difficult for his father. They had a very special relationship, They were sort of best friends, not just father and son, and they would have dinner together every week, and they went away on holidays together. So my husband, I think, particularly misses him.